What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much. I was checking the comments yesterday, as I always do on the video, and there was like so many. I was like, "Whoa, the spam bots are at it again." But it wasn't. It was all of these beautiful well wishes and happy birthdays. And I just want to say thank you so much for being there and being present and making it so beautiful. Nasdaq trading down almost 2%, 1.73%, and markets are on edge here. Is it because of the potential, once again, government shutdown? Imagine having a government that works for you, folks. Just imagine that. And will that be resolved? It looks like they are in talks to go ahead and put some type of band-aid in place to keep things running along over here. I don't know. It could be that, obviously. Could it be that you saw, by the way, what a fantastic exit on Nvidia over here this morning. And we'll get back to the old school. I mean, 0.5% loss. Lucky gap open over there. Palantir blowing out earnings yesterday. Man, Palantir. And you see over here, wait, what's his name? Who's Peter Thiel? He's getting wrecked on BMNR, but he's Bitmine, but he is cruising on his Palantir. Don't bet against Peter, they say. This is an unbelievable environment that we are in. And when I say that, I've never seen moves of this magnitude. I'm looking over here for my gold and silver charts, and this has just been, I mean, no one has ever seen a move in silver like this before. When I say that silver, the market cap at that point was, does anyone have a read on what the market cap was? It must have been close to $5 trillion at the time. 40% move down. Shanghai's trading higher, and then off the low, bouncing up over here 24%. It looks like, what are those things they call out in cryptocurrencies? The coins. Looks trading like one for so. Look at this though. Just that little line we had that we blew in. That's where we've come into so far resistance overhead. Is this just simply a dead cat bounce that is in effect? And you can see over here, if you just take a brief look at the US dollar, Japanese yen, same thing over here. Was that a dead cat bounce? Is this an opportunity over here to potentially here on a resumption down, take out the daily and or take out the daily, or you could do it like this. This looks like a wedge. This would be conservative, right? And it looks like, I don't know how to line it up, y'all. It looks like that potentially. I don't that's for intraday traders out on the currency markets. We'll have more fun over there out on the ES and NQ. But yeah, this looks like potentially here confirmation taking out that low and likely heading into what would be the support of the conservative breakdown. But uh, it seems like an interesting spot to potentially looking for some follow through on this downturn. Look at this over here. Look at that beautiful trend line break, right? After the massive breakdown, that would have been a beautiful opportunity. Lots of opportunity because the markets are incredibly volatile. By the way, you can see yields continuing to sell off over here. And we see oil potentially on the verge of a breakout. I'm watching. Keep an eye on the government. That's probably what's adding duress to the markets today. Probably. I don't know. I don't need to know. That's the topic of today. We'll get into that. What an exit here on Nvidia this morning. This was a big position, 50% of our account, and you could see that able to get out of the market before 3% sell-off, and it's probably getting a little bit lit up here today because of the headline, and the headline is coming in at you hot that OpenAI, this is a headline. I'll get into the story in 1 second. OpenAI is unsatisfied with some NVIDIA chips and has been looking for alternatives for months. Well, that's a long time to be looking for alternatives. I think you might be looking for many months more. The thing is that what happened is that we see Jensen just the day before he was asked out on the street about investing. The invitation was from from Sam Altman to invest $100 billion into was it $100 billion? That seems like such a large number. They throw around billions and trillions today like no other. Elon Musk says that by 2030, there will be valuations of $100 trillion in companies. I don't. Maybe he's out there trying to spur up some liquidity for his SpaceX slash XAI IPO coming to you this year. Some people think that that's a sign that, and a lot of people think a lot of different things, right? A lot of people think a lot of different things. Some people think that's a sign that, guess what? IPOs, top of the cycle, big money's looking to get out. When it comes to SpaceX IPO, XAI IPO, I think what's happening here is that Elon is like horse blinders on, laser focused on the AI build out. And you've seen the catch up he played with XAI. It's absolutely astonishing. But what he's trying to do, in my opinion, is to win the race by in space building out these solar arrays and data centers. Therefore, he could continue to build out XAI and be the leader. I don't think he's IPOing for a liquidity event. I think he's IPOing because he wants that liquidity to go ahead and continue to build. Does that sound like the end of the AI build out? Listen, once CapEx pulls back, that's when I get concerned. Many wild cards in between then and now, but acceleration I see coming forward. I see signs that Bitcoin is continuing to fall out over here, down to close to $75,000, close to testing the wick that just barely did not take out the April low. That's in play right now. And you can see, by the way, I have Solana off the screen because Solana's not in a position, but Cardano holding this open short trade almost back to break even, still holding unrealized loss over here, minus 1.3%. Ethereum holding a banger. Yesterday, you might have thought, wow, I'm still up like 26%, and it looks like the bottom's in. Maybe I want to exit. Maybe. NVIDIA yesterday. Oh, NVIDIA was able to withstand early pressure, was rising. If you look at the NASDAQ over here, it looks like, oh, that's a great candle it put in. Looks like we're just off all-time highs. You know, maybe this is going to be the one. You know, out. NVIDIA, small loss. Amazing. Over here on Ethereum, nope, this is not our exit yet. We're still holding this trade, and it continues to build here into profit. You never know what's going to happen and when. And Bitcoin here too, currently holding a short trade, 7% into knowing when to be in the markets, when out, and in what side is absolutely priceless. It is very rare that we are 100% into cash on equity markets. It tells you something because all of January we've been in 100% cash outside of MicroStrategy, buy side opportunity, loss on the trade, and now Nvidia on the buy side as well. And knowing when to be in the market, when out, and on what side is absolutely priceless. I have this whole thing up the whole time. Is that what you guys are probably telling me? Sam, Sam, man, scammy. Is that scammy Sam part 2? I don't know. We're gonna find out. I'm looking forward to the court case, but it could bring some volatility within the space. There's no doubt. Where is it? I think Sam is just reacting today to what's his name? CEO of Nvidia, Jensen, saying yesterday, actually, I prefer to invest in XAI. You know, I'm betting on Elon, and no, I'm not looking to make that type of investment into OpenAI. I'll leave that to other people. They could buy my chips, but I don't really want to be investing in them at this particular moment. I think that what this is all about, you know. So anyway, here are the positions we were just talking. Cardano holding after closing its last trade nicely into profit, now holding a trade on losing minus 1%. Ethereum here into profit 31% and Bitcoin 7.4 4%. And stocks here out on the sidelines, by the way, a peak at V2, right? And you're seeing here working back towards roaring in the bliss across Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even Cardano after the massive Trump dump and burn over there. Bitcoin bull runs, I mean, use it as a hedging tool out of the market here for quite a while. Momentum left us and has continued and persisted. When does it stop? Is this a good time to? I know I'm not hitting on it hard, but I leave it to you, right? Process over prediction. A lot of people right now have varying opinions about what's ahead. A lot of people are very like particular. Like they come at you pretty exact. In on this date, this is going to crash, blah, blah, blah. By the way, do you know who's exact? That guy in 4chan. He called so far the very top of the Bitcoin market, didn't he? Even the date in October. So if it's not from 4chan, don't pay attention to exactness. So listen, look at this, right into our resistance coming off. I think this chart is pretty important. And I know I'm not hitting on process over prediction, and I don't think I need to. I think right now the templates are doing that for you. And those that are on buy side only, they are in absolute zen, loving this right now. They're loving this. Do you know what it's like to preserve capital, market off 40%, knowing when to be in the market, when out, and what's not? Do you think they care that they're not in the market? Now looking back, I'm like, I only made 14% last year. My gosh, they're like, man, Bitcoin was down on the year. I made 14% and now I'm out of the market. Whoa. No, seriously. But that I know the templates are doing that for you right now. And I know you're looking at the market and I know you appreciate what it is here that CTM has built. Man, amazing. But the question that we really want to get into, I think it's a fantastic question over here. And, is it a good time to DCA into Bitcoin? But before we do that, I want to revert back to the conversation because this potentially makes me change my view that I've been sharing with you when it comes to what's happening. This is HL, silver mining. This is when Doug Casey's telling you to buy. This might be a time to buy now, but silver just came into some pretty big resistance and unable to break above it. Again, I don't know whether or not this is U.S. government market on edge type behavior that we're seeing right now. I don't know if this is, whoa, Sam Altman says that he's been looking for better chips. Where is he looking? Intel? Vacanet shared a video with me that sometimes you listen to things but you don't hear them. I have to listen to again, and it's a video that is appropriate here when we look at silver and talk about silver. And it was from the Andre Gik, right? He used to be like the magician of finance, and now I think he's the master of YouTube. Every video he puts out there, he gets like 1 million views. It's absolutely phenomenal. A lot of people were sharing some videos with me this morning, and it's amazing the amount of information people are able to present. And this is Vacanet aside. Vacanet is basically like, look, listen to this video. It's titled "The Next World Reserve Currency." If you're looking for it on YouTube, I have it right here. I could put it into the chat if you give me 1 second. Oh, look at this. And the way he explains things to the audience is why he has so many views. He's not the magician of finance. He's the master of YouTube. It's fantastic. But the way he presents information to you is fantastic. He's great at what he does. There are other people out there, these videos I saw this morning, the way that people present information, the amount of work they put into their YouTube video is absolutely phenomenal. But taking all that information, guys are fantastic at giving you information. Don't listen to a video that says we're going to crash 34% in the third quarter of 2026. Maybe we will, but listen to the information presented in the video and keep doing that from different vantage points and form your own. You're going to be sharper for it. Don't look to a video to tell you that, listen, you should be buying silver miners right over here. Not even silver miners. You should be buying HL over here. Thing has crashed, almost 50%, 40% since. But I have this up here now because this is a template that was crafted for 3 times leverage gold miners. But I'm watching over here. I'm watching over here. Jumping back to here. That's a good point, by the way. Would love to see that type of grab take place. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be a grab, and that could be painful. So watch out. Listen, this is something that makes me potentially this is the slide I meant to come to. That when I said to you, listen, I don't think until sometime after the next massive expansion of the Fed balance sheet, Jordan, new Fed chair, is not going to be expanding the balance sheet. He's trying to actually wind down the balance sheet, keep rates low, and run it hot for risk. That seems like a magician, but maybe he could do it. We'll find out. Or maybe he's going to find out the task that he has been handed is a lot harder than he imagines. And the only way to keep a Ponzi going is by returning to that devaluation. We're going to find that out. But listen, this is separate from Andre's video where he talks about the next world reserve currency and the dollar dynamics, and why I'm saying I'm not selling my gold, I'm not selling my silver, and it's going to have to be significantly higher before I even think for. And yes, Bitcoin is going to play slingshot. A lot of people think right now is the moment, as you see the PMI back above 52. It's time to accelerate. I'm not a believer in that. No, I'm a believer in the business cycle. I think that there's going to be a period here that we got to work through where we continue muddling along. And I hope that muddle doesn't become a hiccup, because right now, if you look at the indexes, they look like they are on the verge of playing catch up here to Bitcoin. But that might just be a government shutdown thing. I don't know. We have tomorrow after the bell Alphabet earnings. That's a big one. That's a big one, no doubt. Right after that, we got Amazon also on Thursday. Let's get through this week. Let's see if the government is able to, just keep on ticking along. I think those are pretty important things. But this is something I said to you and I've been looking at with you, and I talk about, listen, I think the time to begin to really look heavy into rotating into precious metals is shortly after QT starts, sometime after. And we've looked at that and we looked at why. And I said to you, I think the time to look for the exit of precious metals is going to be sometime after the massive expansion. And I explained the reason why is because at that point there becomes a lot more attractive opportunities with all that liquidity swishing around. And I do believe and think all that's right. But when I look at this slide, I say, well, you know what? This is something that I need to pay attention to look deeper into. So I got to throw PMIs up in there. Now, I know that we crashed up to 52, blowing away expectations and forecasts. We looked under the hood, and that seemed to be from inventory build. So we're going to need actually the economy to begin running a little hot to eat up that inventory. So I'm under the impression that we're going to probably see some lower readings ahead, and we could be, look at this, coming up to 52 and then back down and even under 50 and taking a little bit of time over here. I don't know what period is that, a 6-month period? I have no idea. It looks like a 4 to 6 month period, but it's hard to tell on that chart. And yeah, that's what I think that's likely in store right now, right? So I still think there's a little time here before Bitcoin is able to find its footing, and I do think it's depending on what's happening here. And I want to see what happens in May, the first meeting. new Fed chair going to be pulling back versus this balance sheet expansion that's taking place, or let it run? We're seeing liquidity begin to turn up over here. I'm a big believer in liquidity, the direction it's going. If you don't like my view, I know this guy, Michael Howley from Cross Border Capital, has been doing a lot of podcasts, and he's a believer that liquidity is coming out the other way in 2026. So put that against my view and form your own opinions about what's happening in the market. But this could be that gold tops as the PMIs begin to accelerate. I don't even want to say, well, top, but top in so much as that not any different from this top. So hold on over a second. Here's gold topping, right, after the massive balance sheet expansion. But I like the view that it's because now PMIs begin expanding out hot, because that's why I say that gold puts in this is not like a top, but it is a massive sideways consolidation as other things are running really hard, right? And I like that QT begins, then look for the opportunity, right? QT begins, then look for the opportunity. But I think that PMIs, if they are able to begin expanding out, then that makes sense why gold and precious metals would take a break, right? And I think that this tightens up that view a lot. And as we're working it out, it gets even tighter. It makes a lot of sense. So I don't know. I don't think that this week's print on the PMIs is going to continue acceleration up. I think there's going to be a pause here, and I don't know the timing. And I think that I would love to see second half of this year actually PMIs accelerating up and it looking sustainable. That could happen, and I don't know the timing on that. I don't know if it'll be sooner, later on time, or even later, but that's something that I'll be watching for. So I think that yeah, I don't know that necessarily the run on precious metals is over. What's happening here on precious metals, if the PMIs were beginning and the economy begins to accelerate, would put them into an accumulation zone or whatever that looks like going forward, right? But I don't think topping, and that top won't come likely until after the end of the cycle. The end of the cycle is when they have to return to outright QE. I know the new Fed chair is saying doesn't want to do that. We'll see eventually if he's forced to do that and or what happens. Now we could talk about Bitcoin. So let's see over here, and Bitcoin over here on the verge of taking out the April low over here. And there's some room over here if it's not just a liquidity grab to trade lower, right? We have the yellow line over here. Let's look at this view for 1 second before we even get going and get into it. And I'm looking for a specific view that's going to be found right here. And so as far as let's pick up the conversation. Looking to buy to dollar cost average into the corn for cold storage. What's a good strategy? So, number one, a good strategy I believe is anytime Bitcoin is off 30%, which was 86,000, that's a good time to dollar cost average in. Okay, Bitcoin is obviously in its deepest correction right now of the cycle, and it's off 40%. Seems like a fantastic point to dollar cost average in. Not only that, it is into our zone. It's catching our zone right over here of what is an opportune time to dollar cost average in. Now, we'll look at this a little further, and just because there's a line here obviously does not mean that line is going to hold. But right now we're taking out a very important line. We took out a very important line up over here, right? And I told you the reason why it was so important was because that it was two things: the Japanese yen unwind bottom, and it was also the spot ETF launch bottom. And we took that out, and then we tested it, and we never closed above it, and we've broken down and accelerated now. This line over here is the March 2023 regional bike crisis line, where the government needed to go to that expansion of the balance sheet really quick. I told you that would be a one-time off. Everyone was like, they're returning to QE. And I was like, no, QT is running right now, and that's going to take out that low and continue to go down. And then over here, this is when the courts were like, no, no SEC. Yes, Grayscale could roll over their Bitcoin fund into spot ETF and open up the door for the spot ETFs. We're taking out that line right now. That looks like this zone over here. And by the way, the bottom of it, 68, 69,000 is a lot lower. Now, I guess I'm looking over here at the bottom of the COVID. I don't see any liquidity crisis happening right now. This to me seems like a really fantastic time to DC in DCA in. I want to look at it from different vantage points with you though in 1 second with a few other charts. In hindsight, it's always easy. It's going to depend on, is Bitcoin tracking the Fed cycle, or are we in a traditional bear market right now? Or, I mean, is this the capitulation of the bear market? And if you look at it from a lens of Bitcoin and gold, let's take a look at that. I guess we got to invert this chart. 1 second. I guess there's no way to tell. And the easy way is obviously CTM, drawing some trend lines over here, right? We got far way to go. Is this capitulation happening? It's impossible to say. Bitcoin versus the US dollar capitulations look a lot different. Well, here you go versus gold. This is a capitulation, right? And it looks the similar versus the dollar over here. I'm looking at 2022, the bottom. There's a nice capitulation over here. What was the extent of that? That was a 45% move down. And then what's the extent of the move down over here? That's only 27%. So I can't make any type of assessment if you're looking at any type of capitulation versus gold. But from the perspective of gold, right, we're down. I don't know what to reference that against. That's a massive move. I don't know what to reference against that. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any clarity on that. If we look at past Bitcoin versus the dollar, here you got 45% move down. This is not such a big one, so it's hard to say. Are we looking at capitulation in real time? I kind of think so. This is my view. I think this is a golden zone over here, and we're entered the zone right now. I don't know. I guess you could hear my hesitancy. I don't know, right? Is it a good time to dial the cost average in historically? Look, I do believe 55,000 Bitcoin is cheap. Let me go ahead and continue this conversation. We'll get back to it. If it's the Fed cycle, DCA aggressively. Bear market, spread it out more. I'm thinking that through the same thing. Based on historical data, it's very possible we get below 64K. Less likely we get below 53K. I completely support that, Brian. 55K Bitcoin is cheap. By looking at drawing lines and managing risk, we don't come below that. I mean, it's possible, but it seems it's a really, really good place. So between 54 and 53 and 64 would be a great buying opportunity if you get there, right? And good explanation over here across the board. I'm seeing some people losing their trust in Bitcoin and crypto after reading the files, as it's hinting that they were behind the creation of Bitcoin for nefarious activity. Then a whale comes out and sells 10 billion from a wallet that's been dormant for years. All right. Well, we've seen a lot of dormant wallets wake up and sell Bitcoin. I think it's important to also just kind of at that moment of the conversation, just remember, you are seeing retails right now and small wallets capitulating. but we are seeing large wallets, those with 1,000 of Bitcoin and more right now on the bid. And here you can see right there. And you can see uh, Bitcoin wallets with over 1,000, and they are doing what they do at market bottoms. And I don't know if this is capitulating. I don't think that's capitulating over here. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was smaller wallets. That's just the price. So that I don't think that shows or illustrates a loss of trust. And don't forget, I'm under the premise that retail's irrelevant right now at this phase of the cycle. That retail is irrelevant. They no longer run the Bitcoin market. At this point, we have a much different participants involved. But it's a very, very good comment over here. And people seeing that chatter. So let's look at some charts together. And we have over here this line over here coming in at 69. This is kind of like Brian's level, 68, he said, right? And down to 50, I think he said 53, right? This is my, let me come to a 3-day chart with you just to show you a little bit better. This is my global lockdown BitMEX liquidation line in the sand. We didn't hit that during the FTX collapse. I don't think we hit that outside of a liquidity crisis. I don't think we're anywhere close to a liquidity crisis right now. That comes in at 60K. So I don't believe you're going to see below 60K. Is it possible? Of course, if you're looking at a traditional Bitcoin bear market that comes off, roughly 75%, then absolutely it's in play. And if you come off one that's even more traditional, between that 70 and 80, 84%, 85%, yeah, you have between 22 and 35. If that were to happen, do you think that Bitcoin's going to zero? A lot of people would believe Bitcoin's going to zero. I don't. Anyway, I gave my expectations of what would be the pretty much floor. And I think we're in a zone right now, to me, that is extraordinarily attractive. We're right now into the power law floor, for whatever the power law is, for whatever the power law is worth. And this is from Plan C. And we've taken it out before, though, in all fairness. So who knows what that means? This is a line. And by the way, don't listen to me. These were my expectations about what was going to transpire. And here we are right now touching what is, well, to me, a very attractive point. And this is just a line that hasn't broken since 2017. It surely could. And same thing with this one. This one could break too. This one has obviously held a lot longer for 13 years. That comes in at a traditional bear market low, 30,000. So I imagine that if you believe in the protocol, if you believe in Bitcoin, and you believe that we are right now in, which many people do, or approaching, could go a little bit lower, a golden DCA level, that's it. If we hit into a traditional bear market, actually trading down over 60%, I'll say, if we trade down 70% or 80%, do you think the Bitcoin is done, or are you going to be prepared at that particular point then to DCA once again if you're able? Some people usually at those points are not able, but some people obviously plan ahead. That's the best that I could do to give the opinion, because no one knows. Yeah, like, I always defer to some of the guys that back in like early 2017 I used to listen to was Matt Odell. And if you're interested in that, check out Citadel. Um what's it called? Citadel. Well, search Matt Odell Citadel, and you can find all of his online properties and listen to technical discussions. That's what I've always done. I focus here on navigating price and cycles through the lens, and it's always been through the lens of monetary policy. I defer most of all to the way that we've developed mechanical solutions to trade around whatever price momentum is happening and capture it. Uh, Sandra, great to see you over here. I guess today we got to see Gemma, today you, and that makes me so incredibly happy. Thank you so much. I mean, Ace, ah, that's a tough one, because uh, we've seen those 50% moves down happen in capitulations. We have to look then. I think 55 Bitcoin's cheap. I think right now, taking out the April low, that it or not like we're just on the verge of taking out the April low. I think it's an incredible opportunity, right? That's all discretionary. We trade mechanical, right? And you know, we're so far from momentum turning to the upside right now. It's ridiculous. But it seems to me MicroStrategy has been in a bear market for a significant amount of time. And if you just look at this chart over here really quick together, like MicroStrategy from its high off 76, and in the previous bear market off its high off 89. It looks like attractive levels to me. Well, Valkanet, I know you've spent time thinking about this. We've had this conversation before, and for me, it's a very small percentage, in so much as that obviously the return on capital is going to be has the potential to be much greater through trading, as well as for me, Bitcoin is like a hedge against the monetary system, right? And the odds of the monetary system like collapsing tomorrow are very, very small. Very, 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 very small. And I know a lot of people for the last 4 and 5 decades thought the system was going to collapse. And I remember, like, especially Doug Casey, my man is talking about the collapse of the dollar since the 1980s. The dollar's still the reserve world currency, right? And yeah, we are seeing de-dollarization take place, but the dollar is still the king at this particular moment. Yeah, we are seeing a roll of hard assets and precious metals. And you saw how quickly the White House just moved yesterday. If you didn't see it, go into the industrial section in the Discord. I provided the information. Predicting bottoms and tops is hard. Knowing when to be in the market, when out, and on what side is a lot easier. Right now, momentum is kicking down, obviously. And we have the tool here introduced finally, and right on time. We talk about things happening on time in CTM, right? Beginning of January 2026, V4. But it's not just like V4 that's cleaning up. If you go look at our existing solutions that have been in place for years now, they're also here cleaning up on the move, right? Don't forget, V4 is just built on top of V2. Knowing when to be in the market, when out, and on what side is absolutely priceless. I know that the people who trade buy side only right now are loving it. Could you imagine? Preserving purchasing power is absolutely everything. Everything. Um, Guys, I know some of you are Brian, I know you're one. Don has been really active in creating a solution for buy side boost that trades once a day. As yes, you could automate this very easily. You can't automate buy side boost, right? So you could automate if you're just trading the buy side alone on V4, but you can't, or if you're just holding, like maybe someone like holds Bitcoin in cold storage, and could you use just the sell side as a way to hedge? Let's go put this to 0. I think that the start date here is pretty far back. Let's go to, if I picked the like 2018, I'd be cherry picking, right? So let's go to 2021, the last bull, not the bear market. I'll go to, it's right there, January 1st. It's the next day here. This is just the short side performance. Is that a good way to hedge the downside? Right? If you just hold Bitcoin cold storage. Now, if you're trading both sides, is holding Bitcoin going to outperform you? But point being is you cannot buy side boost automate it at this particular point in time, and therefore Don has been crafting a solution that trades on the 6-hour time frame, but once a day, only once a day during waking hours for Europe, USA, and that could make it a lot easier for people to manually execute. Guys, I'm not here Thursday and Friday, and we're not gonna be, so it's not gonna happen this week. So listen, everything will happen on its time. We're not close to any type of upside momentum kicking in right now, and hopefully this is on time. But definitely not this week, and we'll. I don't want to commit yet to next week, but hopefully, and we could get out that option as well pretty soon. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day, everyone. God bless you, and I'll see you all back on the inside.